I've kind of gone down the old school mentality where you earn big dollars based off how you've performed in the league. Yeah. What blows my mind here, Nick, is that they have knocked back the richest deal. When the Bulldogs are doing well, the NRL is doing well. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a brand new episode of League Chat with the Stat. Thank you for joining me for another episode. Really excited to get through what we have to get through today. Look, I'm joined by a guest this time. I know last time you guys were a bit disappointed I didn't have a guest, but we do have a guest this time. Mickey, hi, brother.
Thanks for having me.
Mate, thanks for coming on.
No, thank you.
We have a lot to get through and some really juicy stuff, so I'm very excited for this.
Yeah, can't wait.
If you guys haven't yet, please subscribe to the channel, Have a Chat Productions. Like, share, subscribe. Do what you got to do there. And let me just take it over to the new IT team. Bit of an upgrade this week in this episode. Ray and Joe. How are you, lads?
Stato, how are we doing, buddy?
Mate, I'm great. Joe, how are you?
I'm great.
Good.
Mate, I get more and more excited each week as you do your new intros because you look so uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's really uncomfortable.
But you're getting better and better every
Thanks,
time,
mate.
so it's all right.
Thank you. I can't believe I got this first take, but we'll just move on from that quickly. But look, there's a lot to get through, Ray. What do we have to talk about first?
Mate, big month in footy. We start off with Lachlan Galvin. He's leaving the West Tigers. The Tigers have put out a statement saying that they'd like to announce that Lachlan Galvin will no longer be with the club beyond 2026, despite the club having its largest contract offer for a junior in the history of the club. Lachlan and his management have decided that his future lies elsewhere and were not willing to review the offer. It should be noted that the club has no intention of releasing Lachlan from his contract and he has not requested this. Obviously, there will be a lot of speculation about this release, but there will be no further comment. The club is focusing on winning as many games as possible during Lachlan's tenure and beyond. The club is disappointed, but we move on. This was just the start of it. There is so much with this story. There's a lot that Galvin and his management team have done since this.
Yeah.
But what do you boys think about Lachlan Galvin leaving the West Tigers?
Mate, I tell you, when I first heard about this story, I was so angry for Benji Marshall based off what he allegedly said. Because I actually haven't heard him say it, a direct quote from Lachlan, that pretty much he's a horrible coach and he can't grow and develop with him. I heard that it came from his management and that message was relayed to the coach. But regardless, man, if that's coming from your management and you're not doing anything to pretty much deny what has been said, like that's massive. That's a slap in the face to Benji.
Yeah.
So I applaud them the way they handled it. Like they got the press conference, they got Jerome Luai, Coruscant, and even Benji handled it well. And I think dropping him was the best decision to make.
Yeah, I think it's the right move. I think just to talk about the story in itself, it's amazing what management do to players, eh? It's amazing how player managers continue to ruin the game.
Yeah.
I do believe that they ruin the game. I think the ones that are really corrupt in the sense of, those like Isaac Moses and just by his troubled past that he's had in the history of, dealing with players and his history with being suspended as well. This just adds to his continued, being in the ear of a vulnerable 19-year-old kid, getting to the ear of his parents as well. What blows my mind here, Mick, is that they have knocked back the richest deal. Firstly, 19-year-old, the fact they can get paid 120K on a minimum contract is mad at 19.
That's crazy. That's a lot of money.
In a day and age where we talk about cost of living and everything else and all these other political issues that we don't talk about here because, it's not the show for it. But in a place like this where they, like in Australia, especially in Sydney, 120K is exceptional just for
sure.
a contract like that, for someone that's coming through the ranks. To be offered $1 million a year for 5 years, potentially 6, to knock it back, that blows my mind in itself.
Yeah, it's definitely crazy. And if he signs another deal somewhere else that has that kind of money, well, then goes to show that it wasn't just for the development, it was for the money as well. I can't see him getting that money elsewhere. Like that, like you said, that was the richest deal that a 19-year-old, especially in the Tigers' history, has ever been offered.
That's right.
It's crazy money. And to knock that back. Look, I do feel for him. Like, I think it's all bad management. I think they're just in his ear. I think if potentially he didn't have the management that he does have and the advice that he's getting, he probably accepts that deal because who in their right mind would not accept that deal? It's a crazy amount of money.
That's right. And it's not as if Galvin's form has been poor under Marshall.
Yeah.
Marshall's the one that's given him the start.
He's been improving every single week as well.
That's right. Yeah.
Compare his stats from last year to this year. It's crazy.
Yeah. And what's blown my mind is that Benji Marshall, I reckon, could still play now.
Yeah.
You know, he's the one that played 5'8". He went through the rigors of it in his career. He would know what to do better than anyone.
For sure.
So for me, I don't understand why he would think that he isn't able to grow. And that's why I believe this is all Isaac Moses.
Yeah.
And it's all that manipulating that play managers do. Because at the end of the day, the majority of play managers don't care for the player. They care for a bigger check in their pocket.
For sure.
At the end of the day. That's the reality of it. Twist it whichever way you want. I don't really care. Come at me. I don't care. But that's how it is.
It's true.
For a 19-year-old to knock that back, and yeah, like to make those comments about Benji Marshall, which is, it's crazy. You know, Benji Marshall is just starting to build the team that he wants. You know, listen, say what you want. We've talked about in the past, like, you know, in other conversations we've had, experienced coaches and how they're able to attract players. Like we've talked about Flanagan, right? Yeah. And how he's got the ability to attract big players. In his second year, Benji Marshall has brought in Jerome Luai, Terrell May, Turuva, you know, Royce Hunt, Jack Bird. Like they're not no names. You know, Joel Skelton is another that comes to mind.
For sure.
Like decent players that have come through that can still develop. And I just find it crazy that, like for me, why wouldn't Galvin leave when he was offered that contract extension?
Yeah. Especially when you look at, like, step back a bit, like all those players that you just named, Benji and Marshall has literally surrounded him with the players that will help him grow, but also help the team. Like if you look at how they're playing this year, they're a million times better than last year.
Yeah.
There's not a chance they're getting the wooden spoon this year, my opinion, based off their early form. So he's done everything for this kid. You can tell that he's been nurtured there. He's, like we said, he's growing each and every week. He's literally got the best 5'8" in the game, who's just won the last 4 premierships with the Panthers, right next to him trying to teach him, and who's changed up his game as well to accommodate him. And he's just...
It's amazing how the club has opened so many doors in so many ways, and they've still knocked him back. And they're like, no, sorry, you're not good enough. Yeah. So for me, I want to know what is good enough. Yeah. What is good enough for Galvin to go and thrive? Because if you look at the clubs that have been linked to, there's been linked to Parramatta.
A rookie coach who was a front row in his day.
Rookie coach, front row in his day. Still questions around the spine.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like Dogs have been linked as well. The Doggies. Now, the link is there because of the assistant coach, Luke Vella, who used to play, and Vella coached him back at Westfield Sports. So I can see the link there, but the Dogs have nowhere to fit him.
Yeah.
I can make that call pretty boldly. Burton's not a halfback. So if they were to supposedly move Sexton on,
well, Garvin's not a halfback either.
That's right.
I'd say.
Yeah, that's right. They've just, it's going to be 2 running sixes, you know? So and they're not going to put Burton in the centers because you've already got Crichton and Cherry, you know? Exactly. So for me, I don't understand. Look, I partially think that there's got to be a deal done somewhere. To knock back $1 million or 1.1 a year with that much confidence, to not have anything done in the background, I think that's crazy. Yeah. I think there's something done in the background. I do think it's Parramatta. That's just a personal opinion. But then we kind of go into the week, right? Then, you know, the press conference, like you mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
You know, then the social media posts. You know, Luai coming out saying team first. You know, and Turuva on that, you know, best friends Instagram thing.
Money.
Yeah, money. Yeah, right?
Yeah.
It's funny. It's hilarious from our sort of view. And again, it's the player manager getting into the ear of, look how they're trending, look what they're saying behind your back, look at this. And now they've come out, Tigers got sent a legal letter by their management saying that he's been bullied in the workplace.
Yeah. So I don't know how they're going to manage that, because that opens up a whole new can of worms. Because if they wanted to be spiteful towards Galvin for his comments that he made, they would have kept him till next year on the books. But now that this has come into play, they might keep him towards, as soon as November 1st hits, bang, he's gone.
Yeah.
So yeah, it'd be interesting to see what happens. They could get an immediate release. They could hold on to him. Could be a big lawsuit. Like, we don't.
Yeah, you're right. I think for me, if you're in a position where you've knocked back that extension, and then the Tigers statement said, you know, there's no at that point, obviously prior to the whole threat of workplace bullying coming out, when Tigers released a statement and they've said there is no chance that he will be released. if you don't want to be part of that environment where you're contracted for another year and a half,
Yeah.
you should be playing cup.
Yeah. I agree.
And I love that Benji Marshall has gone, I'm going to drop him because it's a distraction.
Yeah.
And they can build what they want to build.
Yeah.
Just because Galvin has shown that he can play first grade, that's fine. But if you're not committed to being at the club and committed to wanting to grow and help the team be better, and you've made a decision you're going to leave anyway,
Yeah.
make that tough call.
And I disagree with a lot of ex-footy players, especially legends of the game, that are saying, look, it's a win now type of league where like the Tigers need to get results, so he should be playing. And it's like, well, have you actually listened to the players like Luai and Coruscant? They said they don't want to run out with a guy who they know is not mentally in it for the team.
That's right.
Like why would they want to run out with that player?
Yeah.
So I don't understand why those ex-players would be like, yeah, they're just going to play him because he's such a good young talent. It makes no sense to me. I wouldn't want to run out with a guy that doesn't want to be there.
That's right. But does it make it an attraction for a club with all this stuff going on to really want him to be there? Like to be at their club and be like, you know what, we want to sign him and we want to give him the world?
Yeah, I don't think other clubs would really care. I think I think they'll be licking their lips at this and they'll try and get him no matter what.
Yeah, no, I get it. And I just think when it comes to the whole, workplace bullying and all that kind of stuff, it's really just the player management just trying to get him out of that contract. And
But it'll be interesting to see what happens there, because from understanding other lawsuits that have happened in the league, that player who is suing the club has not been allowed to play for another club and can't sign on anywhere else until that lawsuit is finished.
Yeah.
So if they go through with this lawsuit, I don't think he'll be allowed to play for anyone.
yeah.
So he's just going to sit out. We don't know how long the court case could go for. It could go for 1 year, could go for 2 years.
Yeah.
He could be sitting out for 2 years.
And really, I think that's when, if it goes down that road, I reckon that's when it'll hit him and be like, if I just bit my tongue, if I just got on with the job, if I just requested a release and tried to aim for that, instead of going down this all that rubbish. So, look, but what are your thoughts on the possibility of that opening the door for, I don't know, maybe an immediate release where, because Dylan Brown's going to the Knights. We've recently spoken about that.
Yeah.
Could it be an immediate thing where they just go, you know what, this player manager, he's toxic. Clearly they've gone into Galvin's head. He's become toxic. We can get rid of him immediately. Could Parramatta, because that's where I believe he'd be heading, be the club's like, you know what, we can punt Brown now. We can bring Galvin in. Because it's kind of the same thing with Parramatta, right? Brown's head's not really in it. He's just on one of the richest deals in history. Do you reckon an immediate move could happen?
I wouldn't, if I was the Tigers, I wouldn't do that unless they get something in return. So if they're just going to release them to their arch rivals and improve their rivals without them actually getting something in return, I don't think there's any point to that.
So if they go to, let's play this out, right? So if they go to Galvin, all right, immediate release, you go, and say the club was Parramatta.
Yeah.
Who from Parramatta would you offer? It's funny, right? Because there isn't anything
There's no one at Parramatta that I think will...
that are standouts, yeah.
Especially when you go to think about the price tag as well that he's currently on.
Yeah.
He's only on $350K. There's not many players at Parramatta that might be on that much money that would be worthy for the Tigers to take on.
Good point.
So it could be a cash compensation.
Could be compensation and salary.
Something like that. But they need to get something out of it. They can't just let go of a player of his caliber and give him to their rivals. And then they play them later on in the season and Galvin carves up. Like, it's just not right.
Yeah. You talk about like being of that type of caliber. The thing for me is I've made it very public, in my opinion, that, to earn the big dollars, I've kind of gone down the old school mentality where you earn big dollars based off how you've performed in the league.
Yeah.
The kid's barely played 50 games.
Yeah,
and he bought off 1.1 million and knocking it back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I just think that's absolutely ridiculous. Look, to see what comes of this, we'll just have to see. I do think he'll go to Parramatta.
Yeah.
Whether it be immediate or not, I don't think so. I'll be honest. But look, Parra could do with a Luke Galvin, someone that will be committed, someone that will be driven, and someone like Mitch Moses next to him. He's there for the next 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, I agree.
It's just like a young spine and everything else. But look, at the end of the day, player managers, the majority are grubs, and we're seeing that played out. And you know what? With all this stuff happening with Galvin, everyone's forgotten about Cherry Evans.
Yeah, exactly. So true.
Yeah.
I haven't even thought about Cherry Evans' case. Like, I think it got mentioned once when they lost their third game on the try. I think we spoke about this before, but to be honest, I don't think they're in a bad spot. I think their team on paper is still amazing. They've had a few injuries, and I think they'll bounce back.
Yeah. Hey, IT team, what do you boys think?
Bro, throw the book at him. I hate it when players do this. I hate this rubbish. I hate it when players think that they have all the power in the world. And if you've got players like Luai saying, hey, I don't want to play with him, drop him down. I'm so happy Benji dropped him to that league. Let him suffer down there for a bit. Let him get a taste of his own medicine and take it from there, bro.
Yeah. What about you, Joe? What do you think?
Look, you've all said it. I'm big fan of Benji dropping him.
Yeah.
I'm happy the team or the leadership, Luai and Coruscant, came to Benji. We don't want to play with this bloke. He started to talk crap about everything. We don't want him. Why are you keeping him? Drop him. And Benji listened. It's showing the mentality in Tigers is headed in the right direction. They will bounce back from this.
Yeah.
They will start winning because they have already. And they're just going up.
Yeah.
Honestly, get rid of Galvin. He's become a Jahish.
Yeah.
And it's just going to be worse for them if they keep him.
Yeah, no, I get it.
On that note, I hope they smash Parramatta today.
Yes.
So obviously, there's been recorded.
Yeah, recorded before the game.
before the game,
It'll just be
I hope
beautiful.
they smash them.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think just the Ray, you read the statement out earlier, and the last line is the part that G's me up the most. Like, the club is disappointed, but we will move on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I think that from Shane Richardson, because at the end of the day, Tigers have been known to be a club that have just
Pushovers.
what's the right pushovers? Yeah. There's been a pushover for every sort of player that's kind of stuffed them up with, wanting to leave early and everything else. So the fact that they've come out in this defense, I think it's huge. And I think we'll yet to see what happens from that.
Yeah.
All right, boys, on to the next story. Big one, actually. NRL is seeking to buy the Super League. The NRL will consider purchasing a 33% stake in the Super League, but wants complete administrative control from 2028 as it looks to expand the sport globally.
Yep.
The Sydney Morning Herald reports that in a secret meeting was held in Vegas earlier in the season between NRL bosses and the owners of Wigham and Warrington, Mike Danson and Simon Moran, where the plan, which includes the control contingency, was discussed. What do you boys think of Andrew Abdo and Peter V'landys looking at taking over the English Super League?
I love it.
Love it.
I love it. Yeah. I think it's great.
Especially looking at what they've done for our league over the past 10 years. Or has it been 10 years since they've been in charge?
Yeah, anywhere between about 6 to 10, yeah, something like that.
Record attendance numbers, TV ratings to the roof. Because of that, the salary cap is increased and all teams have been better since, like, if they were to go and take over the Super League, especially when we want to make the game a bit more worldwide, especially entering the American market, I think improving the European market would be instrumental in that.
Yep. No, I agree. I love it. To be honest with you, I think this is the correct way to go. Yeah. We do know that there are a bunch of clubs in the Super League that are struggling financially. Salford Red Devils are on the brink of collapse. Yep. There's been a lot of things I've been reading recently where they can't even afford to pay their players. Wow. A lot of players have dropped out. A lot of players have been released because they just can't afford to pay them. They've gone completely downhill. Bradford Bulls, a team that was a staple in the Super League for so long, who has been in the relegated league for quite a bit of time now. They've also been struggling financially as well. Other clubs like London Broncos, everything else. Now, from what I've understood as well, is that should the NRL buy the Super League, excuse me, what they're looking to do is they're going to look to create a new style competition where they'll have 6 teams in England, or 8 teams in England, and then 2 teams in France. Because at the moment they've got Catalans. Yeah. So they'll increase by 1 team in Toulon, and then they will go in and then they'll increase the Super League teams by 2, or keep it at where it's at, and then have that be the league.
So there would only be 8 teams in the league?
8 teams in England and 2 teams in France. So it'll be a 10-team league with that relegation process continuing, I believe. Yeah. And I believe that there's been some CEOs as well from here. I believe the Rabbitohs CEO is one of them, Blake Solly. I believe he's been interested in wanting to purchase stakes in certain clubs over there as well. Yeah. You're right. We have to grow the game. If the Super League dies, then it deteriorates what the game is trying to do to go globally. Yeah. We're trying to do all this stuff international. And we talked last episode, Ray, about the Ashes. Yeah. And trying to make it a big spectacle there for the 3 games they're doing at the end of the year. If Super League dies, the attraction to the Ashes series also dies as well.
It's true.
So we've got to keep the game thriving in England. Yeah. And look, you look at it as well. I don't know if you've noticed, but, anytime you watch a Super League game, for the crowds that they get, it's a lot lower than obviously what's expected sometimes in NRL. Sometimes it almost matches, but the fans are rowdy. Yeah,
the fans there are great. Like, having been to England and been to a soccer match there, I don't think it'll take much for them to fall in love with rugby league and the atmosphere that will bring. especially when you get all the, like, once they start getting big hits and the skillful moves that they get going on with some of the players, like flick passes and cut out part. Like, it's just, it's a great game to watch. And if they put a bit more money into it, a bit more promotion into it, I don't think it'll take much for those English fans who are very passionate about their sports. Like, they live and breathe sport over there. It's mainly football, but they would also have to try and plan their season around that to try and make sure they don't take anything. Because if they're just going to go head to head with it, they're going to lose. Right. But if they can try and accommodate their schedule with the English Premier League, I think there's an untapped market there where the game can grow.
Yeah, that's really good. And you know what, for me as well, I really think that by purchasing stakes into the Super League, excuse me, we'll talk about growing the game. The thing that I love about this the most is that, like you said, Vlanders and Abdo have a history of turning the game around. And we've seen it now. We've seen what he's done for the NRL. But another thing for me is that what was mentioned as well, Ray read out earlier, was that the TV rights. You know, we've got the next deal coming up ending in 2027. If we can get a deal where, if in that time between now and 2027, that the NRL do purchase the Super League and buy like a 33% stake into it, or if it's more or whatever it is, and then they bring that in, they start marketing that bit by bit, and obviously it's not going to be an overnight, you know, growing, but they start marketing it enough that it actually involves, you know, those big, those streamers like, you know, Netflix and all those, to come in and then to have a look and invest a little bit more into England. It blows it up more. You know what I mean? And I think that's the most important part. And I think by NRL showcasing the Super League at Vegas was also a big part of that as well. I think that was a really good start. I don't think the NRL realized how well they did by adding Super League to that. Because now if they look to purchase their Super League, mate, it can only get better from here. And we've spoken before as well. Vlanders is going to, by the end of the year, quit either horse race, like leading the racing industry, or the NRL. And with the way he's been talking, the way he's been looking, there's still so much unfinished business in the NRL he wants to do. And buying Super League, I really think that's a big part of it.
And he also wants to keep going into the American market as well.
That's right.
So there's so many projects where he's such a good businessman where he will want to where the biggest challenge is. And I don't think horse racing will have as big of a challenge because he moved, not the Melbourne Cup, he's got Everest in Sydney. So that was his biggest accomplishment because it's the biggest race day in Sydney. But tapping into the American market in footy would be massive. And I think it's a massive challenge that he would welcome and he would love.
And I think it'll any way to grow the game and make it international. And you could turn a lot of those fans that watch rugby union in England, to whichever ones that do, turn them straight into NRL. And mate, like, they've got exciting players over there. Bevan French, Jai Field, to name a few, who are just absolute excitement machines.
It's great to watch. I love watching Super League.
I love it.
If it's on, I'll put it on. It's so entertaining.
Yeah, I love it. I think it's great. And there are so many players from NRL that go to Super League. But the problem is as well is that the salary cap there hasn't increased in years. Adrian Morley came and spoke about that not long ago. The salary cap hasn't increased in years. So clubs are struggling to attract talent to go overseas. You know, so that's another big part of it as well. So if the NRL can get control of that, start increasing the salary cap, start to make that a bit more, you know, accommodating for NRL players, a lot more will go. And we've seen a lot go in the time, but a lot more will go and, you know, earn those bigger pay
for sure.
if they go. So, look, I think it's a great idea, and I think the NRL should capitalise.
Yeah, I think this is the route they should be going, mate. Like, I know they've been putting a lot of effort into the US market, but there's a market already there in the UK. Drive after that, push after that, and that's how you make the game grow.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a must. If NRL don't buy into this and the Super League dies, then the game in England dies, and it'll be hard to come back and recover.
For sure.
100%. Well, listen, the game that's not dying right now is the NRL in Australia because, mate, the Good Friday Clash gathers more fans than WrestleMania. That is right. At the Core Stadium, it was heaving on Good Friday as Bulldogs faithful turned out in droves to support their top-of-the-table side and smash the NRL's regular season crowd record. The official number was 65,305 fans in the house to watch Canterbury thump the South Sydney Rabbitohs and go 6-0 for the first time in 87 years. Now, I've got a couple of numbers for you here, boys. The previous record was in 2013 with the Roosters versus the Rabbitohs at 59,708 people. WrestleMania Night 1 did 61,467, while Night 2 did 63,226. This is massive. And I got to tell you, boys, I went to the game.
Yeah.
We went to the game. We saw the game in action. This crowd was unbelievable. It was a vibe that we have always talked about and said this is what the NRL needs. It was awesome. What do you guys think of the Good Friday clash making those numbers?
Well, I've said this for a long time, and a lot of people do agree in the sense that when the Bulldogs are doing well, the NRL is doing well.
100%.
And these numbers back that statement. Look, for the Dogs to go 6-0, for the first time in 87 years, as a Dogs fan, that's huge. Great accomplishment. It's amazing. But the numbers, Dogs fans, and as a Dogs fan, I don't really like other Dogs fans because they've gone into hiding for the last 9 years and then we've come out now. And I feel like it's just it's not all fans, but it's the little ones that do the grubby things when you're at the game and that cause issues with the police and that. But the fans as a whole, when the Bulldogs are doing well, the NRL is doing well.
Yeah.
And it just makes the competition better. And it makes the suburbs better. Go to Belmore, Canterbury, Bankstown. You go to these areas and I drove past last week and there was 4 or 5 cars with Dogs flags. Yeah. It brings the community together in a way that it's been longing for so long. The fact that it's hit more than WrestleMania, that's also crazy too. And I think it's great for the game to and call it what you want. To beat up by 6,000-7,000 people, that smashes the record.
It's massive. Yeah, look, I don't know too much about WrestleMania and the numbers and what that actually means, but considering that it smashed the record for the previous NRL game, which happened 12 years ago, by that amount, over 6,000, is crazy. And look, I hate the Dogs, but the league is much better when they are performing. Same as I hate Parramatta.
Yep.
The league is better when they're performing.
Even Dragons.
Yeah, Dragons, 100%. So those teams that have been there since day dot, when those teams are doing good, the whole league is thriving.
Yeah.
As you said though, when the team isn't doing so well, I wish we still had those numbers because the atmosphere is unbelievable. It makes it for a great experience.
Yeah.
And you gotta be humble in defeat as well.
Of course.
There's no reason why you can't go there and enjoy the atmosphere with the team losing. So, but yeah, great achievement to get that 65,000.
Yeah, 65,000. Those numbers are unheard of. And Ray, like you said earlier, that's something we've been speaking about, how every game should have that type of intensity. Yeah. And how the crowd should be more lively and everything. Because 65,000, it's a bit less to what we'd get at State of Origin or even a grand final. But 65,000 on a Good Friday, because it's always been about 30, 40,000 that the Dogs have gotten, even when they were going not great. Still to get 30, 40,000 was pretty good, but to eclipse that, because they're doing well, 65,000 turnout. It's incredible for the game, and it's incredible to showcase worldwide that just for a regular game, because it happens in America, they sell out regular games. College football, they sell out, regular games. Look at APL, all that. For the NRL to come out and finally fulfill a big stadium, because how many times have we said it over the years where they play games at a core, and it's like a really good game, or it's whatever, and they get 10,000. Yeah. In an 80,000 stadium, it's garbage.
Yeah, it's horrible. I've been to some of those games where it's been that many people, and you could hear a pin drop in the whole stadium.
Right. Yeah.
And then you go to those games that have 65 to 80,000. It's unbelievable.
It's electric.
Experience. Yeah, it's electric.
Yeah.
And not only that, it gives you that semi-final vibe. And even if you don't support either team, you're there enjoying the experience. And the players, they deliver. Look, South didn't deliver. They were shocking. But I think look at the Bulldogs. They came to play, and seeing that intensity in our game is how it'll grow eventually as well. That's how you'll tap into those other markets.
Yeah, I think a game that kind of rivals in terms of the intensity and everything else are like the ANZAC Day clashes between the Dragons and the Roosters. They don't hit the 60,000 number, but they hit a really high number, and it's a great attendance, and it's a great spectacle to be part of. So I would love to see the NRL, all the fans get out for every game, and just to be able to sell it out and to make it, that more competitive and to make it more intense.
Yeah.
But look, I think it's great for the game, and I think it's great for, especially for Dogs fans at the moment, riding the high of an undefeated start to the season. And Easter show next door, what a way to kind of go celebrate as well.
For sure.
But no, look, I think it's great for the game. I think it's good for the NRL. I think it's good for its fans, all fans, and hopefully it's something that we see more of.
100%, mate. And I got to tell you, it's not just Dogs fans, because we were sitting next to the Burrow. Mate, they were chanting and singing songs as if we were in the UK at a soccer game, a soccer match. It was awesome. It was really, really cool to be part of.
Yeah, beautiful.
What's interesting is Anasta's comments over the last week. Anasta has basically said he's called out Weidler All right. The furious Channel 9 footy reporter Danny Weidler accuses NRL great Braith Anasta of threatening to bash him in remarks caught on the BTFU podcast. Braith Anasta talks of having a celebrity boxing bout against Danny Weidler. Is there anything to this? Is this just some guy talking rubbish on a podcast? What do you boys think?
I love Braith Anasta. Just want to put that to the side.
He has my favorite NRL moment of all time when he gets decked in the head and then he gets sinned in or penalized. Sorry, my favorite NRL.
By far longer, yeah.
You're off your head. That's
You're Penny's going to get you. What a moment. Look, I love Braith Anasta. I think, as a Dogs fan and as a player that he came through and won us a comp 2004, to see him transition into the media side of things has been great. He's doing well at NRL 360 and everything else. I mean, you're not going to get along with everyone in the game. Yeah. There's going to be people that you'd want to, you don't have the nicest of feelings towards. I don't even know why it's come down to what it's come down to in terms of why he wants to go and, deliver, a no boxing limit fight against Weidler. Look, I think it's all fun and games from an Anasta point of view.
I agree. I think it was just said...
as a laugh.
Having a laugh. And,
because Matua was one G'ing him. I was like, would you do a boxing match? Like, 100%. And they go, oh, would you do it with Shamus? It's like, no, Shamus is all right. But the other guy, I'd love to throw good jabs. Maybe it was some stuff to do when Anasta was a player and Weidler was in the media.
Potentially, yeah.
The media are dogs. We know that. It's very clear. The way they go about their business, we experienced that firsthand, with our family. And we know how crap they can be and how conniving and deceiving they can be. So it's obvious that players hate the journos. Now, Weidler came out and, he was trying to talk down the situation, like, how could it be, how like that he wants to bash me and, and started like applying more pressure on Anasta because just to G up saying, it seems like he can't handle his role at 360 and now he's going on a lame podcast and saying all this stuff. Look, I think there's nothing in it. It would be fun. It would be entertaining.
I would watch it.
I'd pay it.
Yeah, I'd watch it.
I don't watch boxing
I don't know if
much.
I'd pay for it, but I'd watch it.
I'd pay for it. I think just for the laugh. I'll absolutely pay for Anasta to throw a couple shots on that Weidler. I have nothing against either of them. I think Weidler's great at what he does. I think Anasta's great at what he does. And but yeah, players and journos never get along. Haven't gotten along. They never will get along, especially in the day of social media now. I feel like it's worse than the relationships of what could be between reporters and former players. But at the end of the day as well, and that's his transition into media, and he manages players as well. So he understands both sides of the coin in terms of that. Oh, look, I'd love to see them go down just to laugh, but look, there's nothing in it. Surely there's nothing from this.
I would love to watch James Hooper. I reckon, for some reason, he can throw him.
Yeah, he looks like an animal.
Yeah, I reckon he'll be good in the ring.
Yeah. I think I would just love, but, to come like of that point, I would love to see those in media, like that, like train to take care of themselves, fight against current players.
Current players.
Yeah, like the ones that they call out.
This guy's looking for a lawsuit.
But 100%.
Brother.
100%. But if you think about it, like Matt Lodge will go and fight Tamalolo, for example, or Junior Paulo and all that. Yeah. But it'd be like a WrestleMania kind of build-up. It'd be like a pay-per-view kind of build-up. They G up in the media, they G up all the time, and you make a story out of it, and they just fight. And it's not wrestling where it's choreographed. It's boxing. And who goes down, goes down.
It'd be funny, but
come on, it would be a laugh.
Those journos would...
Look, if you guys think it's a great idea, chuck it in the comments. But I think we should be doing something here. About to go viral.
Get Paul Kent in the boxing ring, mate. Get him.
Oh, mate,
he can actually throw.
He can actually throw.
Yeah, he's good.
Not the last fight he had with the tree and that, but he can throw. He can throw.
All right, boys. Last story for today. We've got a new team in Hawaii, apparently. Peter V'landys and the NRL consider Hawaii expansion team. Australian Rugby League Commissioner Peter V'landys was a surprise guest on Triple M NRL's Journos show to discuss Michael Shamas's proposal of a Hawaiian expansion team. And the big boss is on board, and he's already spoken to NRL CEO Andrew Abdo about this. He says, I can see potential in a Hawaii situation. It's the gateway to America, and our policy is to globalize the sport. Stat, how does this happen? In what way does this enter into a league? Where's this go? Is this a US league that we're talking about here? What is this new Hawaii expansion team all about?
It's amazing when people in the game just come together and throw out a crazy suggestion and get a little bit of traction and see what it can do. Like I just talked about a potential, boxing thing where between players and media, right? But look, I don't hate it. As crazy as it might sound, I don't hate it. Whether it'll be in the NRL, it's hard because, you know, they're focusing on, obviously, Papua New Guinea at the moment. They're still trying to work out. Look, I think in terms of Hawaii, I don't think it's a priority right now. I think it's something they can consider down the track. I don't hate the idea of it being in Hawaii, something new, something to grow the game, to globalize it. But I feel like it's not an immediate focus for the NRL.
I actually agree. And to be honest, when I was thinking about it, just logistically, I don't know how it would work with the travel.
Yep.
You know, I think we saw a couple of teams that came back from literally just Perth, right? And they got absolutely smashed this week. Like, you could see the first half, Manly against the Dragons. You could see Rabbitohs.
Yeah.
They look tired. They look depleted. And I think people underestimate how much the travel affects people. So an 8-hour flight, I know it's only 2 more than what Perth is. So if you're talking about like getting a team in Perth before you get one in Hawaii to join the NRL, like I think, logistically, I think it'll be too hard. But starting up a team over there for a league eventually in America, down the line will definitely be the play.
Yeah.
But right now, I don't think, as you said.
Yeah, you're right. Logistically, it's too tough. You know, you can't go and chuck a team in Hawaii because then how do you work out the season? You know, there's already so much talk from players about fatigue and, you know, not enough time to kind of break in between, you know, the end of their run in their season to preseason, plus internationals, plus they have the state of origin and everything else. So the draw itself is complicated with what we have at the moment.
Yeah.
You know, then there's obviously the talk of adding the Papua New Guinea team, which is done, and they're going to get added in 2028, I believe, or 2027, whatever that is. And then talks of this potential Perth team happening, not happening. I like the idea of Hawaii. I think it's new, it's a fresh idea, but you're right. It has to be for a US league to happen, and that's when you'd bring in a team in Hawaii, and it has to work over there. But that could be part of the play where if Landis does well in this potential buy of Super League and sees how that goes, he could then send the best people over to go and try to do something similar in America. But to get him in the NRL, I think it's impossible. And yeah, it's just hard. Like, I think it's just too tough.
I think it'll be too tough.
And I don't know if it's an attraction for players to go and live in Hawaii. I know it's a great destination spot, but to go and live there, I don't know. I think it's a great idea for an America sort of league to start up, but to bring it to Australia, I just don't see that.
And when you think about the conversion rate with the currencies, like how's that going to work? So you're going to pay a player, let's say they only earn $200,000, right? Or let's say $500,000. You convert that to American currency, that's half the money gone already. That's right. Plus taxes.
There'd have to be salary cap exemptions over in America. They'd have to work it in a sort of way where it can be attractive for players to go. Like they're doing for Papua New Guinea at the moment. They want to build them a full player hub, and there's barely any tax. What they earn over there, they'll earn their full salary. So, look, I think it should stick to America. Keep it over in America. Keep the ideas fresh over there. Hopefully it starts a new league one day. But to come to NRL, it's not a priority, and there's too many complications to get it done. So that's kind of my take. What do you boys think?
I think it's stupid.
Really?
Mate, it's a minimum 8-hour flight, by the way.
There you go.
Minimum 8-hour flight. If you're going to add that to the NRL, it's a terrible call.
Yeah.
But if they're going to start up a US league, for sure, I'm all for it.
Yeah.
I just think logistically it's a joke. It's not going to work out. And I've always been the guy that has said, build the game in Australia. I'm not even a fan of Papua New Guinea. I would have rathered a Perth team than a Papua New Guinean team. So to add to the NRL, absolutely not. I still think the play is if you want to grow globally, go to the UK, work it from there, and keep the game growing here. Because that strategy is obviously working right now.
It's true. And I'm curious to see how they go down the route with Perth, because 1 week it's on, 1 week it's off. 1 week it's the Premier, not buying into what's happening with the NRL. And then Vendor's like, nah, I'll sort him out. I'll go talk to him. I feel like if anyone can do it, it'll be them. You know what I mean? So we'll just have to see how that goes. You want to tell us what you've just dropped in front of us?
Oh, yeah, sorry, boys. I was trying to be, sneaky, try to be a little bit professional. Mick, why don't you grab that laptop there? For our last story of the day, it's not even a story. There's just a couple of NRL jerseys that have been released for ANZAC Day, boys.
Yeah.
And I want to get your ratings on them. I want you guys to tell us what you think. Don't worry about facing it to the screen. We're going to get these jerseys popping up on the screen. What do you think of these jerseys? Rate them out of 10 for me, because some of them are gorgeous and some of them are just pure horrendous. What do we think of the Anzac Day jerseys?
All right. Let's talk about the Rabbitohs one first. I like it.
You like the back of it as well?
Hey, what is going on at the back? Once Navy, always Navy. Okay.
I don't mind it. It's not bad. Honestly, I've only got my eyes on the Panthers one. I think the Panthers and the Dolphins one look phenomenal.
Yeah, they look really nice.
Yeah.
The front of the Rabbitohs one, it's pretty nice. It's pretty safe, I guess. I think it's pretty standard. The back of it, I mean, have that at the front. Like, I feel like it's taken up way too much of a spot on the back, but I get they have to try to fill up the whole thing. I don't hate it.
It reminds me of like Battleship.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just
Yeah, no, it does. It does. Like, I don't hate the I don't hate it, but it's not. I wouldn't say it's a favorite one. The front is nice. The back, it's a bit questionable. The Knights one.
I don't like the Knights one.
You know what? I love the Knights one.
I only don't like it because I feel like it's too different to what their normal jersey is like.
Yep.
I like when they actually look quite similar to the actual jersey.
Yep. Okay. Yeah, it's not a bad take. When I look at it on the website, I don't like it. All right.
Yeah.
When I see it in front of me, it's not a fan. But our boy Joseph over there has actually bought the jersey. I received the jersey for his birthday.
Yeah.
And he wore it, I think it was the other week. And I looked at it and I said, you know what? It's actually a lot nicer in person than it is as on the website.
He's gonna have to show me after.
Yeah. But I rate the Knights one. I like the there's a big story behind it as well as to why they've gone down the route of the colours that they have. So I'm a fan. The Roosters one, I feel like it
looks like a normal jersey.
yeah, it's normal jersey. The
Same as
Saints
the
one.
Dragons.
Yep. About the same.
They had a good one a few years back where they actually had similar to what the Panthers had on the front of their jersey. It looked awesome.
No, that's right. And then if you look over to the Warriors, bro, I love the Warriors jerseys. I love their training stuff. I love everything about what they do in terms of their jerseys.
Yeah.
I love it. I think it's really cool.
Yeah, that's a nice one.
That's probably the best looking one thus far.
So I love the color black.
Yeah.
So these two, like the Dolphins,
Okay, yeah, the bottom three event, the Dolphins and the Panthers one are really, really nice.
they're very nice.
No, I love it. I think the Warriors, Dolphins, and Penrith ones are really nice. Ray, at the start of this, you said you absolutely hated some of these jerseys. Which ones did you hate?
The Knights one's disgusting, mate. I've seen that live. I've seen it sit in the car with me. It is putrid. It is absolutely disgusting. And I think Mick's right. I'm with him on the fact that I love when a jersey incorporates the team's colours. I don't like it when it's too different. I think the two best clubs when it comes to jersey design are the Bulldogs, and that's not me being biased, and the Warriors. I think they make some of the most gorgeous jerseys, and I just don't think they're it this year. Boys, give me from left to right. Rate them out of 10.
All right. Mick?
Rabbits, I'd probably say,
I'll go with a 6.
yeah, I'd say 6.
Yeah, it works.
The Knights one, probably a 1.5.
Okay. All right.
Shocking,
That's fair.
bro.
No, that's fair.
That's
Hey,
shocking.
I'd
gorgeous.
give it a 7.
Whoa! Okay, time out a second. You gave that one a 7.
I really like it.
Wow.
It's a great jersey.
It's a great jersey.
I don't know what you're talking about.
No, I love it. I genuinely like it. Like I said, off the website, it doesn't look as appealing, but I had to see it in person. And then I saw it in person, I'm like, you know what, this is actually really, really cool. I'd give it a 7.5.
That
7.5.
even told me because I sent him a photo of me in the jersey the day I got it. He's like, okay. He's like, yeah, my Brook, but he didn't sound like he was a fan.
Yeah, I wasn't a fan. I have to see it in person for me to give it a proper. And I saw it and I love it. I'm a big fan.
I saw that jersey walk through the church halls on a Friday night. And when I saw that thing walk towards me, I thought, this thing is atrocious.
Yeah. Look, I get why you say it. I get it, but I like it. I do like it.
Keep it going.
The Chooks?
It's just, it looks like a normal jersey, so I don't like the Chooks jersey. 3.
Okay.
That one's shocking.
Yeah.
I don't like it. I like their normal jersey.
I'd give it a 4 or 5 max. I want to go higher than a 5 on that one. The Dragons one looks.
like a normal standard jersey. Again, so that's
Well, what's Anzac about it? I don't really see what's Anzac about it.
I don't know.
All right.
I'm pretty sure there's a poppy somewhere. on the Dragons one. I saw it earlier today.
Can we just talk about they had a poppy and they still charge $160? I don't understand, mate. It's ridiculous.
That's crazy.
But
Probably same.
4 or 5, yeah, that's
Yeah.
standard.
As a Dragon supporter, that's only a 5. The Warriors,
The Warriors I'd give, mate, it's beautiful.
I'd probably say,
And there's a poppy on it too. I love it.
I'd probably say 7.5.
Yeah, I'm 7.5 to 8. I love it. I love it. I really like it. But it's between the Dolphins and the Panthers one, but they're both beautiful.
I personally prefer the Panthers one. So I think the Dolphins is an 8.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd go Dolphins at 8 and Penrith 9.
9.
Yeah. Yeah. I like it. So, but I wonder why not every club releases ANZAC jerseys, or unless they just go on a rotating system. I know Cowboys release about 600 jerseys a year. They release like ridiculous amounts.
Yeah, I'm not too sure either. I know the Dragons should have probably the best ones out of all of them, considering they do the Anzac Day game.
That's right. Them and Chooks. And somehow they got the worst ones.
And you know, I missed Melbourne versus Warriors on the Anzac Day as well.
Yeah.
That used to be a classic.
Great
And
game.
They used to do the jerseys as well. From memory.
They do really, really well with them as well. Yeah. But yeah, nah. Look, I think it's Dolphins and Penrith and the Waz. They're my top 3 of the 3. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us on League Chat with the Stat. Mickey, thank you for jumping on.
Thanks for having me.
Guys, remember to like, comment, share, subscribe to the channel, Have a Chat Productions. And we're looking forward to the next episode. Take it easy, guys. Enjoy.